The following podcast contains spoilers.
This is the Bundarelli Show.
Yeah, like right from the get-go, just go, go, go. That was action-packed. I enjoyed that episode a lot. That was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was like lightsaber fight after a lightsaber fight. I mean, we could skip everything and just go to the end, but do a whole show on that. That's how much was happening on this show. But you got the Ezra debacle, which kind of came up because of like Sabine's attachment to Ezra and everything, and Ahsoka said it was going to be an issue, and ended up being an issue.
Now, before you go too far ahead,
Yeah.
let me ask you, because I didn't remember until the recap that Ahsoka even said herself, "I know how we could find Ezra." I didn't remember her saying that. Did you remember that? I feel like I didn't think that. I thought she was just all about the map, and I feel like I would have remembered if she would have went out of her way to say this is about Ezra. I thought she was just looking for the map, and then Sabine was like, "Well, I know I'm going to find Ezra."
I think you're right.
I didn't remember. I think that they either it's some creative editing or we missed it.
No,
because
I think you're right.
I don't remember her pointing that out.
No, I remember, as you're saying it, I remember the scene because Ahsoka goes, we'll bring us to Thrawn, and she goes, "Oh, and maybe Ezra," and she goes, "Perhaps." Yeah. That was how the conversation. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
That's how they did it then, and then now it changed to where it's like, "Oh, hey, I know where we could find Ezra," because that changes the storyline.
Yeah. Now I think.
Yeah, and I wonder. I almost want to go back and watch it. I thought maybe you'd catch it, but I want to go back and see now because without watching the recap, that changes the plot. You know what I'm saying? Because Sabine is going. It's not that she's going like, "Oh, because I have an ulterior motive." Now she's going because she was led in that direction, and that's a big difference. That changes the plot.
I think. Yes, if you read it that way, I think what it did was they used a different take for the sake of the recap. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So I believe
too,
that,
but it still changes the storyline.
Yeah, because then it makes it like Ahsoka kind of misled her, like we were on the same page here. So I can see how. But
not even misled her, but it's a different story.
Yeah,
it's Ahsoka saying you're coming here for the greater good, and she's like, "Oh, well, I want to find my friend," and she's like, "Well, it's not about your friend."
Yeah.
Or it's Ahsoka saying, "Hey, let's go find your friend," and then she says, "Okay, let's go find my friend." It's two different things. It's a small thing, but it's a big thing in terms of, thank God I watched the recap because it changed how I watched this episode.
See, I skipped the recap, but yeah, no, the original
I watched
way.
Recaps because recaps is not just do I remember what happened. It's because they point out things that are pertinent to the episode.
Yes.
That's why I always watch recaps. And my daughter, me and her watch shows. She's like, "Oh, just skip it. Just skip it." Especially if you're binge watching something. I'm like, no, you want to watch it because they're going to give you a note. Like, "Hey, remember when this guy said this?" And you're like, "Oh, that's coming back." I want to see that.
Tell you the truth, I skipped the recap because I was like, let me get a head start on Bob so I can set the studio up. So I skip, go.
Yeah, I got you covered.
No, I think that was a different take. So they brought that. Oh, so how would you think about Mandalorian Sabine? Like,
that was awesome.
Yeah,
that was awesome. Yeah. And I turned my head for a second. I had to rewind it because I was like, "Is that Sabine or did somebody show up?"
Yeah,
because I just so happened to look away for a second, and then I said, "Okay, it's her. That's cool."
Yeah,
but that was cool.
Yeah, and they had some cool back-to-back fighting and stuff. Like there was three. I think there were three different lightsaber fights or a bunch of action scenes happened. Hu Wang was able to hold his own when he was fighting.
Which one is that again?
Hu Wang is their droid. The droid that was
I love their droid.
Yeah, he's awesome.
He's one of my favorite droids of any of the shows we've seen so far. I love him. He's good. And he's got more personality than Ahsoka does.
Yeah, he does. There's been some pushback on that too, how she's a little cold. I think it's because of the stuff she's been through. But even the guys in Rebel Force Radio were like, she's got she's a little flat. And even compared to the way she was in Boba Fett and Mandalorian, she's a little flat. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe
and there was one note I had for you. I was curious to your stance on it because You're coming from a point of view to where you're a fan of hers.
Yes.
So you're letting that slide. But
Yeah.
now I'm coming to this show. I have never seen this character before, except for the couple times in the shows. So it's cool. We have two perspectives coming at this. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a good thing for us. So, you know what she's like? Okay, Matrix, Trinity. You know Trinity from the Matrix.
Yes.
The girl in the Matrix, the opening scene in the Matrix, it's her. And she has the big fight scene, and she's the biggest bad ASS of all of them. You have no emotional attachment to her until she finally starts doubting at the end, like, oh, I didn't know if you were the one because somebody told me blah, blah, blah. You have no attachment to her because when you have someone who's just, yes, she was a badass, but when you have someone who is just nothing but a badass and just completely cold, personality-wise and everything, and no doubt in anything, it was like you just have no attachment to him because you're just like, okay, it's just a robot. Yeah, and that's how I feel like Ahsoka's been. They show like, okay, she feels bad about her whole thing with Sabine, and I'm not knocking the show.
No, I know.
I am to a little bit, but I'm still enjoying the show. But I have no attachment to that character coming up to this episode at all. It's just, okay, she's a Jedi. And she's just stone cold. They haven't given us enough. Maybe if I came from the cartoons, I seen the drama, maybe. But you can't assume somebody watched a different show coming into this show. So I think that is a fault on their end where, until this episode, I enjoyed her just because she was badass fighting with lightsabers. Yeah. But it still wasn't, like, I'm not emotionally invested in her.
It would be hard for someone who didn't know the character could find her a likable character without knowing anything. There's been too much of a leap. And it's not like she gradually got here. She was still, like, when she was in the cartoon, she was like this young, sprawly, like, and she was like snippy kind of character. That's why Anakin actually called her Snips. And that was like, and then like they had her like even in Rebels, she was older, more experienced, but she still had that personality. But it's just like they're making her too like samurai master where there's nothing. Even Yoda's a goofball. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And
true.
You have to lose your personality to become like this. I don't know, but like a best example, I compare it to Rey. Like Rey, we knew nothing about, but the one thing you can say about The Force Awakens is you fall in love with Rey like instantly. You know what I mean? You're like, wow,
because she's a person.
Likable. I want to ride with this character and feel her victories. Yes, you don't really get that. Sabine, you get that with, but not Ahsoka.
Yeah, because Rey is human first and then badass. Yeah, so we were completely attached with her. We were there with her, like, oh, it's this person, but now it's not. It is taking a little bit away from the show in terms of nitpicking because that's what we do. But if we weren't doing this, it wouldn't have ruined the show for me because I got Sabine and I'm with her.
Yes,
you know what I mean?
Gotcha.
So I'm just with her. Yeah. And I'm looking for Ezra and I'm seeing all these, cool new villains. So it doesn't matter that Ahsoka is just not that interesting a character. She's badass and she's cool looking. So if that's all she is in terms of me watching now as a newbie, even like just, you know what I mean? So it's not taken away from the show in that sense, but because we're nitpicking, I have no attachment to her. Yeah. Until this little space scene with, I don't want to skip ahead.
We should, because it's really the heart of, and I actually think it's going to solve kind of when she knew Anakin was there, all of a sudden there was some warmth. You know what I mean? There was some like smile in her. And there was like, if somebody could break through it. The way I'm saying, like Anakin's, her past, where she was like the young spry warrior. Now in the cartoon, she was, she had that partnership with Anakin, and then in Rebels, she actually faced him as Vader, and they confronted each other. But he was about to kill her, and then she escaped, kind of thing. But the cool thing now is because her whole regret was, when she discovered it was Vader, she was like, there's one part in the fight, she goes, I'm not going to leave you again, not this time, because she had that guilt that she walked away from Anakin and she wasn't there for him, when everything went down. Too, I don't know if they're going to get that crazy with it. But
Yeah.
it's a good way for Ahsoka to confront herself, because even the parts I don't know, as a guy who's watched all the stuff, is why is Ahsoka so robotic and like by the book right now? And what went down with Sabine, those kind of things. So I think they're going to use Anakin as a way to like get us into what's going. I really believe it's going to be about Ahsoka more than Anakin, because Anakin's story kind of ended. That's what I think, but I think it's going to be like the push, there's an argument. I don't know if we said it, but I think a lot of people said it. Like, no, I did hear another guy say it on Rebel Force Radio, but he said like Qui-Gon should have showed up in the Obi-Wan show. Qui-Gon should have showed up when Obi-Wan was covered with the rocks, and he was like Vader was. Remember when he was buried and all of a sudden started flashing, thinking about the kids? He's like, that's where Qui-Gon should have came instead of just like the little thing at the end,
kind of walking off in the
not the happy ending, but like the turning point, like I'm at rock bottom, get me. And I think that this is like it's part 4. It's an 8-part show, so this is where Ahsoka like confronts herself, gets up and dusts herself off, and goes back in. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
There's gonna be a lot more flashbacks in that sense, because if we're at 4 of 8, it seems like the main storyline's almost coming to a close.
I don't think so.
They're gonna have to drag it out to hit 8. You know what I'm saying? Because they're right on the tail. I think that the whole thing with the map and the girl giving it to the huge guy, the huge Jedi, I'm sure that she just turned it a quarter turn to the left or right, and she pointed them in the wrong direction. That's what I'm assuming happened.
I don't think so, because I don't think that would have. She could have. Wow. Yeah. You know what? Wow. I didn't. That would be, because I can understand her going either way. Because Ezra sacrificed himself to pull Thrawn out of that galaxy, to get Thrawn out of there. That's how the whole thing happened. Yeah. So it's like, from my perspective, I'm like, you're throwing away what Ezra did.
They went out of their way to have Ahsoka give her when I need you, I can count on you, right? Yeah. And that's when she needed her. She can count on her.
And she knows how to operate the key.
She knows how to operate the key. It's only 3 things that twist, but she twisted one a little to the left. So it screwed everything up.
I don't know if that changes the map, because I think the key just unlocks the map. I don't know if the key is the map, but Sabine is handy. She could pull a move like that, yes. She could sabotage it from within. Because but if Thrawn is coming back, that brings a whole new level to it. Because wherever Thrawn is, Thrawn has a galactic star cruiser on him. Like, he's got a whole like army with him that just got pulled out to this other dimension. And if you remember from Mandalorian, when all the remnants of the Empire were talking, they were like, I keep hearing Thrawn. Thrawn's not doing nothing. Remember Moff Gideon was like, everybody keeps talking about Thrawn. I'm not, he wasn't buying it. But Thrawn's he's like the most, he's the guy, well, they're saying in the story, but he's the guy that can really get things, jumpstart things, get them going again. Because the way the Empire is now, it's just fragments and everything. So it's, I got a feeling that depending how this ends, Thrawn might be, because Dave Filoni, who's doing the show, that's what I think, first of all, that's why I think this show, I'm so faithful to it, because I think people looked at whatever he did with the show and said, we got to give this guy a movie. That's the first thing I think. Because they just he did his first TV show ever, and they're like, give him the next movie. The other thing is, I think, Thrawn's going to be a baddie in that, but I think, like you said, there's 4 episodes left, but all of a sudden, you got a lot we're shaping up here, because we got this other galaxy we're going to. Is Thrawn coming back? Are we going to that galaxy? I don't know how Ahsoka gets that other galaxy, how that's possible. Well,
she's walking around in space now. Anything is possible. She might just jump over to it.
The only prediction I have is the space whales. I think they're Purgle. I think that's what they're called. The whole thing is based on their following their migration path. So if she finds herself in the Force, she communicates with those whales. Yeah, have a whale take her over, or somehow whales. But that's how Rebels ended with Ezra using the
She
whale.
gets a big leash.
Yeah,
and, like,
or they
hops on a whale.
or they could have the
It's
ship
very
like,
Star Wars there. Yeah.
But they have the whale grab like the ghost ship, a Hera ship, you know what I'm saying, and bring them all over there. That because it's their migration. Because Hera, because Ahsoka could talk to those whales, but there's a lot still to unfold. They got this under galaxy. You still got Ezra out there, and whatever happens out there.
One guy, because the one guy got dissolved. Which right after he did, I says, you know what? Nobody ever said Ezra was a Jedi, so it does make sense that he's.
No, Ezra is a Jedi.
Oh, he is a Jedi.
No, he is a Jedi. He was trained by a survivor of Order 66, and that was all in Rebels. But yeah, he's a straight up a straight up Jedi, lightsaber and all. But he's Sabine has Ezra's lightsaber. That's Ezra's green lightsaber. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's definitely. But 4 episodes, you got a lot of ground to cover. If they go there or they come here, so. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be tight, but definitely jumped up a notch this show. So
for sure.
And then you know what? And then next episode we got a conversation with Anakin, who by the way looks awesome. Yeah. They de-aged him. They gave him the episode 3 hair. Like he looks really good. I'm actually going to watch that part again after we're done. Rewind.
I watched it like 3 times. I was like, make sure I didn't miss nothing.
Yeah. We'll do it again next week, all right?
All right, buddy.